156 in the new book. You have this fold back for an inch on the fold for center front, and you're going to place, they have us drawing the line 2 inches down just to get a waist extra up top so that you can use that as a guideline, but it doesn't have to be right on the waist. And the yoke, as you're going to the side, you're going to just drape the dart out, okay? So some of you have already asked me to help you get rid of darts. A lot of times it's just a matter of manipulating it out of the pattern. Sometimes it has to take the form of, you know, gathers or some other seam. But your grain line here is going to slightly shift downward as you place your yoke, okay? So that gets rid of the dart. And then I'm going to get rid of some of this extra fabric. Again, my big inch around, so I have my seams to do the seam allowance with. Okay. All right. And then it is sloping downward a little bit, so if I don't want to keep that, I can go ahead and level that out. So if I want it to maintain my, say my 4 inches, or in this case 3.5 at this point, because I want to have my seam allowance there. From the waist down, I can kind of pencil in my waist here, draw in my side seam, and I can keep all of this at that same 3.5 inch mark. And cross mark where the intersection is. Okay, and then my seam from those marks. Then I'm going to do the same thing in the back. And don't be afraid to slash to get your fit too. That's another way to get the muslin to relax. And in the back, again, for the sake of being graceful, you usually want your back to be a little bit longer than the front. So instead of, you know, 3.5, maybe go 3 and 3.75, and then bring it back up to that 3.5 mark at the side seam. Okay, so that's the design of my yoke there. You can kind of fold those together and get your lines to agree. Okay, so I can correct this later on when I get flat pattern, but make sure that you get your pencil marks where you want them so you don't lose that. Okay, I'm going to take my elastic. At this point, if you wanted to use the gather stitch, you would do that to your rectangle. So the textbook has us marking 10 inches down on the front, same in the back, the length that you want. But it also has you keeping this above the seam a little bit to help you with the gathers. So I'm going to place my elastic and then place my muslin. And then this is 30 inches of width, so it's a pretty large amount of gathers. Anybody remember ratios? When I talked about ratios before in sewing, kind of, sort of. Okay, so when you're gathering, usually a cotton weight like this, usually the ratio is 2 to 1, right? So if this is a 40-inch amount and I want 1/4 of that would be 10 inches. So my 2 to 1 is going to be, I'm going to get this not so tight. My 2 to 1 is going to be what if I'm covering 10 inches? 20, right? So it's just doubling what that amount is. This is a lot of fabric to put in here. If you're using a chiffon, you guys remember, if anybody recalls, please let me know. What would a chiffon be a good ratio? A good ratio for chiffon on a gathering. If 2 to 1 is cotton, what would a good chiffon ratio be? 3 to 1, 4 to 1, tulle even 5 to 1. So this would be a good ratio for a chiffon, right? For this fabric, it's a little too heavy. So this, because they have us going with 30 inches, yeah. So you're going to play with this and pull up your gathers. And this is just a faster way if you don't have access to a sewing machine to get the amount you want. And this is to help you just keep your grain straight, okay? Then once I have that, I'm going to get that same 3.5 inch mark from the waist down and draw in at the top of the elastic where that should be. Now this where the princess line is, I'm also going to want to have my notch for my gathers. Okay. And then the same here, 3.5, and so on. And get my side seam, and then just draw that and get the pattern piece. Pretty simple. The thing that you want to do is just get your gathers really nice, and when you have your pattern piece, again, because it's a little bit of an A shape here, it's going to just slightly, maybe about 1/2 inch at the most, raise up from the princess over, just to get a little bit of an A shape. Okay, repeating on the back, same idea with the pieces. The only difference is on the princess line, you're going to have a double notch. Do the double notch with that. Okay, thank you.